This is TechCrunch. AI-related job loss fears grow each time another company announces a round of layoffs. Through May of this year, companies announced that close to 90,000 job cuts were tied to AI. And by some accounts, up to 15% of U.S. jobs are projected to be eliminated by AI over the next 5 years. Promises from the tech industry that AI will also create new jobs does little to ease fears, especially for the generation wondering if anyone will be hiring when they graduate. A recent report tracked enterprise AI spend and workforce records from nearly 22,000 companies. Now, the report found that companies spending heavily on AI are growing headcount faster, even in the entry-level roles that many fear are doomed. According to the report, high-intensity adopters, firms that spend on average $30 per employee per month on AI in the first 3 months, saw headcount increase 10.2%. Headcount also rose across functions, including engineering, sales, administration, customer service, finance, marketing, and scientist roles. The strongest job growth among high-intensity adopters was in the information sector, which includes software, internet, media, and tech-adjacent firms. Despite these positive signals, the data is not as rosy as it seems. It skews heavily towards tech-forward, knowledge work firms, ones that might have VC backing and are growing fast anyway, making it difficult to say whether AI is contributing to the hiring or just showing up at companies that are expanding anyway. The research says this paper does not show that AI universally creates jobs, but it does counter claims that AI will lead to broad job losses. It also counters claims that AI is killing all junior jobs. Recent research from Goldman Sachs found that AI has already erased about 16,000 net jobs per month over the past year, with Gen Z and entry-level workers taking the brunt of the burden. But in tech-forward firms, the report finds that entry-level headcount actually rose by 12%. So, what can we take away from this? Well, perhaps that AI is not always a tool for labor substitution, but that it can be a tool for firm expansion instead. The report went on to say that for software and technology firms, AI can make core output cheaper or faster to produce, writing code, debugging, building internal tools, producing technical documentation, and supporting product development. Lower production costs in these workflows can raise the return to expanding the whole firm, not just the engineering team. But companies that buy subscriptions and run pilots, yet did not go on to make sustained investments, don't tend to see any gains in headcount, per the report. Now that sets up the potential for a widening gap between firms that have the resources like capital, technical staff, founder networks, and management bandwidth to turn AI adoption into actual business gains and those that are stuck experimenting with subscriptions. In other words, this report suggests that firms that already have the resources are the ones who will see the largest gains. The paper's authors speculate such a divide may continue to grow, saying firms without those channels may fall behind. Permitting delays pushed by the Trump administration threaten to derail 92 gigawatts of clean power, even as electricity demand from AI data centers skyrockets. Already, permitting changes and federal funding withdrawals have led to the cancellation of 7 gigawatts of generating capacity on federal land in 2025. That's according to a new study from consulting firm Wood Mackenzie. The additional scrutiny could cancel another 12 gigawatts on federal land and 80 gigawatts on private property. The federal challenges affect more than $121 billion in investment in the energy space. Demand for electricity has been climbing in recent years after 2 decades of zero growth, driven in part by the expansion of data centers to feed the AI boom. Data centers are expected to grow in number and scale in the coming decade, according to market forecasters at Bloomberg NEF, which in turn pushes up their electricity use nearly threefold by 2035. Meanwhile, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is requiring grid operators to offer a fast lane for grid connections, though it has done little to address the bottleneck in new generating capacity, which is close to crisis proportions in some regions. In the largest grid in the U.S., which also hosts the most data centers, grid operators spent the last 4 years preventing new generating sources from connecting, effectively freezing supply at a time of rising demand. No wonder the general public is unhappy, and tech companies are forging their own paths by building their own power plants on site. Where the U.S. has been able to add new power plants, renewables have been the largest contributor. Solar, batteries, and wind represented nearly 90% of the record 53 gigawatts of new generating capacity added last year. The increased permitting friction stems from an August 2025 order from Doug Burgum, U.S. Secretary of the Interior, which sought to rein in environmentally damaging wind and solar projects. While wind and solar have been the main targets, energy storage projects have been canceled as well, the Wood-Mackenzie report found. Most of the permitting woes are concentrated in Oregon, Alabama, Maine, Minnesota, and Montana. Solar projects sited on or near private wetlands appear to be most at risk, while wind farms have been scrutinized under airspace regulations. It's unclear how solar projects will be affected in the coming years, given the Trump administration's recent decision to lift protections for 80% of U.S. wetlands. Burgum's order is a marked shift from his previous tenure as governor of North Dakota, during which he oversaw an expansion of wind power within the state and set a target for it to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2030. As recently as 2024, he was boasting about North Dakota's rich wind resources, which produced a third of the state's electricity in 2022. That's all for now. For the latest tech news, go to TechCrunch.com.